we again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. The Cubs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Benny, have you got the electricity back?
I'll tell you what, these builders, these Portuguese builders, you can't get, just as I was about to go live, they did something and all the house went out.
I was sitting here all by myself and Benny left. How are you, Benny?
Sorry about that. Right, welcome. Day number 2 of the Chile World Cup recap. This is where we just kind of go through what happened yesterday. Maybe some of you watched it, maybe some of you I watched it all, so I've kind of got my own little theses of who's sailing.
Portugal. Benny, we're losing him. We are losing him. Let me bring up some video from the day while we wait for Benny to join us once.
Or is it me? Frozen in time?
Well, yeah, I think so. You're back. You're back, Benny. You're back, mate. You're back.
You disappeared. Or was it me?
Oh, well, we probably, as far as I was concerned, you disappeared and probably vice versa. So I'm not sure which one was. But anyway, maybe just repeat what you said.
Okay. Well, no, it's all good. Like I said, we are here. We're going to talk you through a couple of the standouts, I think, from yesterday. A couple for me definitely stood out. We sailed, in case you didn't know, yesterday. We have you both now. Okay, we're both in the screen. Sorry, just checking. So yes, yesterday, what happened in Chile? Obviously, anyone who's tuning in first time, Chile PWA IWT World Cups, the second one for the year, is happening right now. They've got a full live stream. They have got epic conditions. And it's pretty epic, I've got to say. The place looks good. Conditions look good. The sailing looks tricky. It looks good, but it looks tricky. Some people, some riders look like they're dialed in from my eyes. Let me know in the comments who you think is dialed in. Did you watch it? We've done the first round of the pro men and the first round of the pro women, although I did fall asleep at the very last heat. I couldn't keep my eyes open, even though it was like some epic action. Woke up with the TV full on in my face. And then we also finished, obviously, the latter part of the trials. Now, again, if you haven't been tuning in the day, I'll just recap. We do have like a trials for this event, which runs before the main event. And the 2 top riders from the trials made it into the main event. And it was a really close affair. A lot of local riders in it, a lot of South Americans. And we did have a few Euros that made the trip over there. Now, we have to talk about those guys because Lucas Meldrum from England, obviously I know him very well. He was British champion last year, won Tyree, and Finn Mellon from Ireland both made the trip over there and both made the final. So there was a lot of European hope there going, cheering the boys on. And it was looking really good early on. But in the end, they both missed out. I don't know. Did you watch it, Paul?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say apologies because I watched up until 3 a.m. Australian time. And at that stage, I was like, I need to go to bed. So I kind of got to probably heat 3 or 4 in the pros. And then I've kind of missed a fair bit of the rest. So this will be good for me to catch up. I tried to do a quick look just before, but obviously the video goes for quite a few hours. So it is a bit tricky to just do a quick catch up when there was so much sailing going on. But it was pretty clear to me that anybody that comes from port tack conditions or sails that a lot had definitely a bit of an advantage. I did notice that, you could sort of see that, couldn't you, with the females and the men?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go on to the trials. So that's what we've got. You know, we had finalists as far as I remember. Music. Let's turn that music down a bit. Is that me or?
I don't hear any music.
Sorry, it's auto started my side, my point. Yeah, so like in the final, we had Finn Mellon, as I said before, Lucas Meldrum. We had Tom Air from Israel, and we had Vicente Gonzalez. Now, in the end, the two that went through was Vicente Gonzalez and Tomer Shamgar. Now, if you just saw the results, you might not think much of that. But when you watched it, the one wave that put Tom Air through was literally in the dying seconds of the heat. Full buzzer beater. I mean, Finn Mellon, I thought he looked really on it, but he was pushing. He was really pushing almost too hard. He had a couple of opportunities, and it looked like he just pushed a bit too much. Now, don't get me wrong. You've got to push because you can't take it for granted that the easier turns are going to get you through. But they probably would have in hindsight. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I mean, they both sail well, like Lucas Meldrum and Finn Mellon. But yeah, unlucky, but really good sailing from the other boys. Gonzalez as well. Really good performance from him. He pretty much smashed it. Finished the heat with 11.03. So a good way ahead of the other riders. Had two waves over 5 points. And then the other riders, it came down to the last minute. And whoever got pretty much a decent wave in the last minute would have took that second spot. And like I said, in the end, Tom Air got a good turn and a bit of an aerial, as far as I remember, like a really clean aerial. And that was enough to put him through. So I'm sure there was a bit of heartbreak for the Finn Mellon and Lucas Meldrum fans.
Yeah. No, I can imagine traveling all that way and getting so close to getting around to the next, to the pro division would be a little bit disappointing. But, you know, they've done well to get that far, and a bit of luck would have been played in this too, because one thing I noticed, I don't know what it's like sailing out there, but you've got this big rock island sitting out there, and sometimes, you know, I was watching it through the camera thinking, where are the swells coming from? Obviously, when you're out there, it's probably a little bit more defined, but I did notice some people catching waves which had some promise, and then they just had no shoulder on them sometimes. Or so obviously wave selection was a huge part of getting the score. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to, actually, I'm going to get Mark Paré. He might be dropping in. I'm just going to send him an invite because he said he might drop in. But I was chatting to him earlier about it. There's a few things that kind of, you know, you notice when you're looking around. Let's see if he can drop in. If he can't, no stress. But yeah, what I found is like in Tenerife, and I saw a couple of the guys having the same problems here. If you come up under the lip and you kind of fade in upwind and then you turn into it, you don't have the speed to then make the sections. And from what I could see, yeah, we'll go on to it in a minute, but local boy Vargas, he looked really, really on it, you know, and the way he was starting the waves. Victor Fernandez, Julian Salon, these are guys that have sailed there before. They definitely had a better way to start the wave. Obviously, wave selection was really key. A couple of big, long running waves. Julian Salmon, massive standout. We're going to come on to him in a minute. Had the highest wave score of the day. And there was other styles out there. Like I said, Vargas as well was definitely one of them. I thought Bernd Rodiger, you know, not someone I would have associated with riding on this tack, but he looked good. Antoine Martin is injured, but I thought he looked good. Miguel Chapuis, I thought he actually looked good. Victor Fernandez, I thought was pretty lucky. He got a very big score in his last wave, which watching, I thought he might have dodged a bullet there. Maybe underscored on another wave, but I thought his wave, I didn't think it was enough looking at what I'd seen, because one of the local guys, I think it was it Benjamin? I'd have to have another look at the exact name, but I thought he had an epic wave with lots of turns, some airs, and a tacker on it. And I really thought he was a bit underscored, if I'm honest. Again, judging is very subjective. It's not easy at all. But just from my viewing it, Jules Donnell, someone mentioned here, Frenchies did well. I thought Jules looked pretty good. Yeah, Antoine, one is he. Thomas Traversa, obviously. I mean, first rounds, you can't lose it in the first round. You can't win it either. But it's what I'm doing is I'm looking at this first round and looking who looked good, who looks into the spot. Costa as well. He was getting some big airs. He didn't look quite on it, looked tricky conditions, but getting some very big airs and looked pretty comfortable, I would say. Yeah,
Federico was also someone, he spent a lot of
Yes,
time there, and I thought he did well in his heat too, because
good point.
sometimes you don't always expect him to sometimes win, but he really did well in his heat. That all that time he spent at Chile paid off for him.
Yeah, I thought he was a standout, actually, Federico. He
yeah.
hasn't been sailing as long as a lot of the guys out there, and I've seen him come through the ranks. So he has definitely upped his level. And I've said it before, in competition, he definitely steps up. He's obviously almost a local here in Chile. He's been there quite a few seasons now and spending a lot of time over there.
I like Federico because I met him in Peru in 2018, and he was a guy that was full of motivation and desire to improve. He wasn't, you could tell that the guys, your Antoine Martins, your Morgan Rose were a step above him in skill level, but his excitement for windsurfing and just passion for wanting to improve has kind of led him to, 5-6 years later, here he is actually winning heats. So I'm actually really stoked for him, because sometimes people can get really excited and you think, oh, well, that's nice, but they're not producing results. But with Federico, all that hard work that he's been putting in is actually producing results. So that's super cool.
It's really interesting. I mean, we could probably go through each heat as it is, and I'm going to just give you my thoughts. This is not like, I'm not saying everything that comes out of my mouth. It's just my opinions on it from watching the live stream. I'm not there. I'm not spoke to lots of the riders, but just the visual things, it was quite easy to see. And obviously, it's very easy to judge it from sitting at home on your sofa. It's a lot different there, but you can see there was definitely struggles. Like you said before, wave selection was super key. I saw a couple of guys just not in the rhythm. You sometimes know when someone feels at home in a spot or they're in the rhythm, and then you can also see other guys when they're not quite in the rhythm. One guy would say, one of my teammates, Alexia Stilrich, in the last heat, he just didn't look in the rhythm. He wasn't on the right waves. It wasn't coming together for him. Frustration then creeps in, and then when that happens, time goes very fast. Time.
What do you think? What do you think happened with him? Because Port-Tac, he does quite a lot of Port-Tac sailing, doesn't he? Or
just not in the rhythm. Like I said, sometimes you're just not in the rhythm, and you just have to go, okay, forget it. I'm still in this competition because this isn't over. Anyone out in this first round will have a second go in that redemption round, but then it's last chance saloon. There's no more chances after that. So, from my reckoning, I'm just going to give you an overview. Maybe someone doesn't want to listen to this for an hour if that's what we go on for. But I think yesterday, if you didn't tune into the live stream, big things to say is we're going to see some upsets. That's a guarantee. We are going to see upsets because with just wave rides counting, wave selection was key, and there was some standouts from some of the guys that you might not expect to be standouts, and they could easily take down the biggest names in the business. So I think that is exciting. If there's any reason to tune into the live stream, it's that, because we will be seeing, I am 100% sure we will be seeing upsets in the women as well. We're going to come on to them in a minute. There's some really good showings there. Brown, the first heat on the water was Brown, Camille Juban, Adam Barchol, and Thomas Shangar. And I tell you what, at some point towards the end of that heat, I thought, oh, we might be seeing an upset. Adam Barchol had opportunities. He actually, I think he went for a goiter. I think if he'd have made the goiter, he could have caused some problems. You see, this is Marsilio Brown riding on your screens. And again, it was difficult to see what the judges were going to go for. I saw a post on Instagram from Bernd Rodiger earlier. Basically, it was almost like a little bit of not a dig, but a little bit of a way of telling the judges without telling the judges in a nice way, basically saying, oh, what was his wording exactly? It was something like judges are not rewarding length of ride, And usually in my experience, I could be totally wrong on this, just my opinion. Sometimes that's a nice way of saying, boys, it's not all about the length. It's about, critical and, just to place that in the judges' minds, because the judges are looking at all this stuff for sure. So I've seen Baker do this in the past. I've seen other people. It's all nicey, but there's an underlying message in these posts, which is, you know, just because it's a long wave doesn't mean it's better than a short, more critically ridden wave. Interesting what you guys think in the comments of that. Like, if you watch the live stream, length of ride versus criticalness, you know, I thought there was some really good long rides to had, and there was a massive skill in picking the right wave. Obviously there's a bit of luck, but most of it's skill, because when you watch the local boy Alex Vargas, he seemed to pick off all the good waves. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so, you know. So it was definitely something in that.
I did see some good scores come through for people who did catch some long waves, but obviously they were linking up maneuvers along the way. So, you know, more opportunity when a longer wave, and also the size of the wave was a big factor of the scores too. Because I saw a few people catch standout sets, do some, you know, critical turns, and they got rewarded pretty highly for it. So that was something that was rewarded high as well. If you like, Ben, because I'm controlling the YouTube video, if you wanted to go through the heats, you know, one by one, and I can sort of fast forward or backtrack through the video as you talk about it, if you like.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a few comments. Jobster saying Vargas was class yesterday. I totally agree. I thought he really stood out, and he could definitely cause some problems. If we look where he is in the draw, I'm just going to have just a quick look. He's obviously won his first heat, and he goes into the next heat. Guess who his next heat is against? Marsilio Brown. Plus, they get the second place rider from heat 2 in the reportage round, which interestingly, Sugi's in there. You know, there's some really good matchups coming. So we're going to go through that. So first heat of the day in the main competition after, you know, the trials was Kamiju Ban, Marsilio Brown, Adam Vorchal, Thomas Shamgar. Like I said, very close for that for those spots. It really could have gone either way. Adam Varchal came on strong at the end, and he could have really caused an upset against Brown. Didn't happen in the end. It was Kamiju Ban and Marsilio Brown that went through. I thought they both looked good, but I think keep your eye on Adam Varchal. Definitely one to watch. Second heat number 2 was Alex Vargas, which is the local man. He was out round helping out with the live stream and stuff yesterday, which is good to see. But he really knew his stuff. He won that heat, but it was a super close heat, all big scores from everyone. So it was like 12 point something for Alex Vargas, then Takara Ishii, Dieter van Eyck, Takuma Sugi, all with 11.5 points, just 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 separating, you know, the second place riders. In the end, it was Takara Ishii that got the second spot, and he jumps to the third round. Dieter van Eyck and Takuma Sugi will have to go into that reportage round. So Dieter didn't look quite on it at the beginning of his heat, but then he came on strong at the end. He was putting out a few tackers on the smaller sections. So, you know, not as big a reward as it could have been. But he definitely looked like he was out of sync in the beginning, and then he came on strong at the end, Dieter. So it did take him a while to get warmed up. You know, on the other side of that, Alex Vargas, he just opened up with, I think he opened up with a 6.5. So it was the highest wave score of the heat, and he did it on his first wave in the first seconds of the heat almost. So that was solid as well. Takara Ishii also had a really decent one in the middle.
Alex, if I can just butt in, Alex Vargas, I haven't seen him sail much, but he was ripping, wasn't he? Like he was ripping that good. I was thinking he could go all the way he was going.
Yeah. He knows the spot. I mean, a lot of people have bigged him up before the competition. Obviously, local rider. I think he said he's been coming here since he was a kid, and he moved here 4 years ago. So now this is his kind of local spot. It's super low boom. I like that. He looked really in control, and just his wave selection and just solidness just filled you full of confidence that, you know, if anyone messes up, he's there. He's going to get solid waves. He's going to pick good waves. He's going to be a tricky competitor. Again, I've never been there, but I'm watching, and there's definitely certain tides and certain times the wind changes in the day, which is offering it easier to do maneuvers. You know, there was definitely times where it was easiest in aerial, and there was times where it wasn't. But I will say, if you're watching the live stream, keep your eyes out, because there was difference in aerials. There was some guys that were going late and under the lip, and that was happening if you didn't quite make it. That was late from Dieter van Eyck in there. And there was others that were like kind of flicking off the top, which is more, not as critical and not as and probably shouldn't be as rewarded as much as the ones that are coming up and under the lip, because that looks a heavy wave. Even on the live stream, it looks heavy. So in real life, if you see the pictures from the Fishbowl Diaries that are over there doing the pictures, it looks way more gnarly, because you get a different perspective of the wave. So I would keep your eye out for that. But judges seem to like maneuvers for sure. Obviously, long critical rides, that's what they're looking for. If you can put them all together, you're going to be difficult to beat, obviously.
I'm actually curious for everyone listening's opinion on this. Sometimes with certain sailors, I'm not so familiar with their gear choice or what sail, especially if they've changed sponsors at the start of the year. What do you think about the idea of where the name is, and just after them in brackets, it just shows you the sail brand they're on?
Yeah, it's a logistic thing, because I think even towards the end of the live stream, they did what I've been asking for ages, is to put the 2 counting waves on the live screen score, because that makes a whole difference. Seeing 11.5 for Alex Vargas doesn't really give you an indication, because he could have a 10-point wave and a 1.5, which would mean he's going to be, one more half decent wave and he's almost unbeatable. Whereas if he's got 2, well, that's maybe a bad example, like the 9.24, say, if that's an 8-point wave and a 1.25, he's got the advantage over the next guy if he's got 2 3-point waves or 2, So I think this was a very good addition they did towards the end of the live stream yesterday, and I think that will definitely help the commentators, because usually you're looking at your laptop, whereas this way you'll be able to look at the screen and you'll be able to get a much better picture of how the heat is looking. Because for me, as a commentator and as someone watching, what you really want to know going into that last minute is what each rider wants as a wave, so you can really build the tension. You can be like, oh my god, we got 3 riders, they only need a 5.5 and a 5.4, that's not a massive score, it's all open. Or the guy needs a 9-point wave, so we know he's got to go crazy, so these things help really tell the story and really bring you in, because when you're watching stuff live, it's not all about the actual action, it's about the story and the numbers. Sounds stupid, but it's quite exciting, when you really get into the numbers. And then that last 2 minute about positioning, you might find like Alex Vargas was leading this heat towards the end, he was in control of it, so he had, when he went out, he picks a good wave, just don't let anyone on it, sail it past everyone, then you could drop off the back and go back out, get another one, because the more good waves you take off your competitors, if you're already leading, the worst thing you want to do is pick a good wave, you don't ride it that well, or it doesn't pan out and you're on the inside, and you leave the whole lineup open for your competitors to have the pick. You want to be out there taking a few waves off them. That was a huge aerial from Takuma.
Yeah, it was sick, wasn't it? Yeah, that was sick. I was just thinking, well, what you just said then about the 2 wave scores. Do you think if you had the choice, rather seeing 2 wave scores next to the score, which is what happens later on in the broadcast, versus next to it just showing what every person needs to get into the lead? Because I'd rather see that. Like that's the number you actually want to see, isn't it? You want to see.
Yeah, you can work it out then, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
It depends how good your maths is in your head. Usually you can
sure.
For me, I want to roughly work it out. I want to see, he's had 1 good wave, he's had 1 tiny wave. He can upgrade that small wave with not much of a score, which will boost him. So I guess maybe I'm already thinking like that, and maybe you got a point.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed in the WSL, that's what they do at the scoring. Next to the name of the score, it'll say, it needs a 5.5, and less thinking, especially if you're mathematically challenged.
Yeah, no, it's true. But that's why the commentator's there. Really, for me, the scores on the screen or whatever, it's all for the commentator, because the commentator needs to, build that side of it. So that's our job as commentators to tell that story, and then you've got the numbers on the screen just to visually back it up. If you're, maybe the commentator's talking about one guy, but you're rooting for someone else, you still want to know what they need, or if they can change it. This is Dieter's tacker, I think.
What do you think about the wind today, Ben? Do you think the wind was same sort of direction, or yesterday you're saying you thought it was a bit onshore?
Well,
What do you think?
when I say onshore, don't get me wrong, because it's not
No.
onshore. I'm talking compared to cross off fully. And
Yeah.
you could see it changing during the day and the tide changing, which I thought was really interesting. And I love hearing from the locals. So there was Alex Vargas was actually there saying, you know, he came on the commentary later and was talking a bit, which was interesting. I heard he was on a 4.5, he said. I think he said a 90-litre board, but I'm sure he said 4.5, and he was pretty overpowered. So, you know, that gives us a bit more of an idea of how windy it is, because sometimes you can't quite tell. So he doesn't look a small fella, does he? So I would imagine a couple of the guys out there on quite small sails.
Yeah. But the wind direction looked a bit more cross than yesterday. Would you agree? Or
yes, but there were different parts of the day. Like there was a bit where you could see everyone was struggling to get aerials. They were getting caught up in the lip. They couldn't quite get punched out. They were, you know, and I've had those days before. It's a very straight wave and you can't quite get the lift out. So sometimes you have to stay high and flick off the top, which is not as big a scoring, but it helps get you out of trouble. And the guys that were coming up from deep and under, they were the ones that were getting punished, you know, and they probably, from my eyes, weren't getting as rewarded as they should have been when they did make it. So so it was actually safer, again, just from watching, to stay quite a high line and punch off the top, which was a little less critical, but a much safer route to do than to come up and under. Because the up and under guys, like if they didn't make it, they were getting annihilated. And when they did make it, the scores weren't so reflective, because when you came up and under, you didn't get that nice bit of speed to get you off down the line. So you could also say the reading of the wave, if you want to come up and under and go more critical, it could have been a bad read, because it means you're not going to make it down the line. So, and I think maybe that's where Bernd was talking about, because when you start to go critical, you lack a bit of speed to make it down and make all the other sections. And I'm sure at the top guys who were going more vertical were like, yeah, but those end bits of the wave are kind of small and not worth hitting. You know, they're kind of nothing. So, you know, there's different ways of thinking about it, and you have to try and get in the judge's head of what they're scoring, and you have to kind of play that game. If you just do your own thing and you don't care what the judges are thinking, you're going to be disappointed. So you've got to try and work out what the judges want to see. And like I said, by Bernd's tweet last night, or, you know, Instagram post, I can kind of think he's evaluated the situation, gone, they didn't score me so well for that. I thought that was good, but they've scored that long wave way better. I thought that was easier. We might see Bernd Rodiger doing longer waves today, unless there's a, you know, a chat with the judges, because it is a rider run, you know, event, organization. So they will voice opinions. And again, I don't know how those conversations are going. But yeah.
No, good roundup. But anyway, Alex Vargas, he was a standout in that heat, and be interesting to see.
The other guys were all good. I have to say that was a very high standard heat. No one really messed the heat up. By the end of the heat, there was only like half a point separating them or something like this.
Yeah. Dieter had was it near his last wave? I seem to remember he had a long wave with lots of maneuvers and things. I
thought he could have made it. Like, it was one of those ones where you're like, well, if he got the score, but you know. And again, I've said this before on the streams. You have to remember, there's a saying. I think it's from Kelly Slater, which is if you leave it up to the judges, they'll fuck you. You know what I mean? So basically saying, unless you smash the heat, unless you destroy the opposition, there is a good chance you're going to lose. So you have to have that mindset. You can't be blaming the judges at the end if you lose by 0.2, 0.1. You know, because you left it too close. You didn't do enough to stand out.
Yeah, no. It's this was the wave, wasn't it? Dieter Van Eycken. Is that
looks like?
Hold on.
Yeah, that's Peter.
Yeah. It was a good wave. This.
Yeah, it's difficult when it changes perspective from the drone to the, you know, to judge it as you judge other ways, because that looked pretty rad, but it was hard because we're seeing a really cinematic. I mean, for there, that looks a pretty tasty wave, doesn't it? And what did he score for that? He scored, you know, just watching there's a good turn, aerial, an attacker, and he scored a 5.77 for that.
Yeah, right.
You know. Yeah. Oh, we've got Julian Salon lining up. Are we going to bring him in?
Oh, nice.
Let's bring him in. Hey,
Oops.
we just.
All right, we just.
Gone.
Hi, Julian.
Hello.
Good to see
Here
you
he
again,
is.
mate.
Good morning or midday, or in Australia, I don't know exactly what time it is.
What time is it
Oh.
there? What time is it?
Here,
Yeah.
here it's 8:30 in the morning.
Okay, so up bright and early, feeling pretty good after your heat yesterday. You kicked off that heat like I know when you kick off a heat like that, you're just smiling ear to ear because you've got that wave. You know it's a counter, and then you've got the whole heat to score one more wave. Did you realize that wave was just going to line up like that?
I didn't realize in the start of the wave that it would line up like that long. And I wasn't like exactly sure if it would be a set wave because I watched all the heats before and there were some bigger waves. So, but at the end of the ride, I felt like I had a decent ride in the back. And like you said, it's always you start a heat like this, it always feels really nice, and you kind of are more calm during the whole heat because you know you got already one ride in the back ride at the start, which can't get any better to start off the heat.
Yeah. You obviously came to Chile last year. You ended up on the podium last year. Is that right? Pretty sure.
Yeah, I ended up third place last year.
Yeah. So second, this is your second time back to Chile.
Yeah.
Explain to people what it's like to ride that wave, because watching from home, it does look tricky. You seem to have got it down, but I'm definitely seeing other riders not as comfortable yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky spot, especially in the early heats and in the late heats, because it gets really light on the inside. So then sometimes on the wave, like on the outside, it's usually always windier, but on the inside on the wave, it gets super light. So in the early rounds, usually in the start of the day, there's not much wind on the wave, which makes it really hard. And then as well, the angle of the wind, like the further you get, kind of changes a bit. So you have to adjust a lot, and the wave, like at the start, it's kind of a bit slower, and then it starts to run really fast. So it's really easy to get caught behind a section or something like that, which makes it hard to read.
What gear were you on yesterday? Give people an idea at home, like what your weight is, what size gear you're on, what have you brought to Chile, what have you been using?
So yesterday I was on a 5.0 and 88 liter. My weight is around 85 kilos. Yeah, some guys were using, I think, 4.5s and smaller gear, but as I'm a bit heavier. And yeah, that's kind of my small board that I took, the 88 here, and then I took a 94 as a big board, and I took sails from 4.5 to 5.3. So yeah.
Well, the gear must be working well for you, Julian, because it was super late when I was trying to watch it yesterday, and I got a bit delirious, but I seem to remember you being a bit of a standout in your heat. So you must be happy with the way you're sailing at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really stoked with how the gear is working. My boards are feeling really good, and my sails as well. They feel super light in the handling and like a lot of power. So like in my heat, as it was later in the day, there was plenty of wind. So that definitely helped as well. In the earlier heats, like I said before, it's usually way lighter on the inside and it can be a bit more onshore, which makes it harder to go down the line as well. So
I think it was maybe even the last wave of your heat. You did the sickest turn. I think for me, it was the best turn I saw all day. What's easier? I know that sounds stupid because the wave obviously changes in different parts, but what would you? Because on the first wave of the heat, I think you did about 5 aerials. I was like, there was definitely one section I thought he's going for a goiter here, and then I think I heard your brain go, no, play it safe, don't go too crazy. But what? Because you definitely were thinking goiter. I saw you look. I could see it in your eyes. You were like, I really want this. But what are you thinking then? What's the wave telling you?
well, yeah, on that first wave, like after 2 or 3 aerials, I definitely had a goiter or tweaked air or something in my mind, but I was just like, hold back, don't
Yeah.
crash the first wave and just finish it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's like later in the day and it's more offshore, I feel like it's definitely easier to kind of just fly down the line and do airs
Yeah.
than a good turn. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely harder to do a good turn than doing airs, I feel like.
Yeah.
What's the vibe with all the sailors, Julian? You know, obviously, last few years the tour has been finding its feet again. New stops on the tour. From the outside looking in, it looks like a pretty epic event. I mean, are the sailors happy with the way things are going this year, or especially this event?
Yeah, I think this event so far, from all the people I have talked to, all the sailors are, I think, at least from my point of view, really happy. The
Yeah.
organization of the event is amazing.
Mm.
The conditions we get this year here are amazing. Already for the challengers, the day before yesterday, they had a full afternoon of epic conditions, and it's just here. I don't know. I feel like in South America, the people are so friendly, and from last year, it's a huge step up to from 4-star to 5-star event, and yeah, I feel like it's really, really well organized.
Yeah, it's super cool, isn't it? Because obviously, I know all you guys are super passionate about windsurfing and competing. So to have an event that's so well organized must be really motivating to continue going forward, isn't it? You know, it's the last few years have been a bit tricky, but to me, it feels like this is a really positive step, or turning this event into a 5-star.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
No, it feels like a positive step to the future. Definitely.
Hmm.
I have a question from a rider's perspective. Who's looking good? I mean, you are definitely looking good. If I look from the
Apart from
first
you.
round, you're definitely standout. But have you anyone else sort of fit in the spot well? Obviously, local boys as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of people that are looking really good. The Fabis brothers, the local 2 brothers on Goya, they are sailing really, really good with goiters, airs, and all the tricks. And obviously, they know the wave really well.
Yeah.
Jules Denell, I really liked how he sailed in his heat. He had some, like, he connected one really long wave with some good scores as well. I always like how Victor sails, especially that he puts a lot of effort in doing proper turns and stuff, which is kind of more personal, what I like more.
Yeah.
And Brown, he connected a really long wave in his first heat as well, where the conditions were more tricky. So I feel like everybody is sailing really good. It was a
Yeah.
really packed first round.
Is
Of
it?
So
some intense
true.
heat.
Is
Yeah,
there
it's so
anybody
true.
that's taken you by surprise, Julian, that you might not have thought about before, that's sort of stepped up a bit?
Um, Not really. I feel like
Mm.
all the guys you think that would sail good are sailing really good,
Yeah.
and then just the locals. Yeah, I guess maybe that's for other people, but as I have been here before and I've been 10 days before the event, so I've seen them sail before as well. Alex Vargas, like, has been sailing amazing yesterday. So I think those are kind of the people I would say that could take some of the riders to surprise how good they are sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, good man. Well, thank you for joining, dude. We'll let you go and get your arm on because it looks like you're going again today. Forecast still good.
Yeah, yeah, forecast is still looking good. There's supposed to be a bit more swell than yesterday.
Ooh.
And yeah, I mean, it will only start from, I think, midday on. But yeah, the
Yeah.
forecast looking amazing for today, tomorrow, and the day after. So I think there will be plenty of more good sailing.
Sounds
Sweet.
good, man. Well, good luck.
Thanks for
Thank
coming on,
you.
Julian. Good luck,
Cheers.
mate.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. Yeah, there we go.
that
That's
was cool.
interesting. That's perfect. That's what we want to hear from. We want to hear from the riders over there because he was definitely, for me, the standout rider yesterday. He had some of the biggest turns. Like I said, that there was, I think it was his last wave of the heat. He did this turn on the outside, which just demolished the thing. I've never, this. I mean, he's famous for big turns anyway. If you've ever watched any of his videos from Tenerife, obviously Port Tac, spot as well, but he has got some absolutely huge spray coming off. So yeah, really, really good to have Julian on. Be interesting to see, like, podium place last year. It wasn't a 5-star event, but he was on the podium, so he knows how to sail this spot. This is Alex Vargas that we were talking about before. He looks
No, this is the next
it wasn't. That's another one. That's another local, is it?
Is it Arnold Frenet, is it?
Is that a Nash? It looks like a Nash.
Oh, that's Robbie Swift. It's Robbie Swift.
No, it's a Nash. It's a Nash.
Oh yeah.
That was Alex Vargas maybe sailing it. No, maybe it was the Arno. If it was, that was a hell of a wave,
wasn't it?
He's been underscored. That's the case.
So this is why I want to know the sailors after the names. I don't know sometimes who I'm looking at. It's can be a bit.
This was Federico, wasn't it? Federico, I thought sailed really well, actually. And Miguel Chapuis, another rider. He's got a new sponsor this year. So signed for North Sails. Yeah, there we go. Arno, that was a hell of a wave, wasn't it? Wow.
Yeah, it was sick.
Boys,
super good. Super good. Thank
you. Swifty didn't have his best heat. I will say, out of what I was expecting from Swift, he'll be upset with himself because I don't think he's sailed anywhere near what he's capable of. So I think he'll be a bit upset. Obviously, he's got another chance coming up, but there was
that was Swift there, right? That's where I was getting confused because Swifty had like a blue sail as well. Yeah,
very similar colours.
Yeah, they actually sounded that Nash and that Neil Pryor. They look quite similar.
Yeah. No, that's a huge score. I have to probably have a look at what happened because I kind of missed that when I was watching last night. But that was a huge score. He scored. Yeah. Scored 6.43 for that wave, but then all his other scores he didn't get above a 3. Oh,
I don't know that wave of his is that. Let me go pop back.
He would have qualified. He would have qualified with a 4-point wave. Wow.
That was one of the sickest aerials that I saw, and I didn't see the whole contest because I went to sleep at 3 a.m. But is that an underscoring, you think, for that?
Well, look at this, it depends. You have to base it off what else was going on in the heat. But this...
Yeah, but that's one aerial. It's good size. Like that's a set wave. And then this aerial coming up here is pretty sick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sick. That's going back into the pocket.
He scored well. He scored a 6.5, which is...
I know,
but... There wasn't many people scoring 6.5s. Julian got the wave of the day, let's say, and he scored an 8.5. So it wasn't that they were throwing massive scores around. They weren't... That a 6.5 was a very good score yesterday. The problem is he didn't back it up. You look at this one. It's pretty good.
I don't know. I look at that wave, and I guess personally, I'm looking more in the 7s for that because it was just such a critical area. It was tweaked and then back into the back straight into the pocket. Yeah, it was sick. But anyway, it is what it is.
But
I'm not a judge.
In the end, just so you know, in the end, he didn't make it. He missed out by 0.3 of a point. He needed a 3.6 wave, and he would have qualified ahead of Miguel Chapuis. So, Miguel dodged a bit of a bullet there. He got a 4.5 on his last wave, Miguel, and it was enough to put him through. So, he's, keep your eye out for Arno Frene in the next round because he looked really good.
That was such a sick wave he had. Yeah, that was super cool.
Jacob says, I feel it was underscored mainly due because early on in the heat.
Yeah.
Rasmus says Robbie Swift had a shocker. Yeah, he didn't have a good heat, I have to say. He like I said, he'll be upset with that. He knows what he can do. He knows what he's capable of. He did have a house here in Chile, so he knows the spot. He just didn't quite look in sync. And again, there's no reason for it. You just sometimes you start the heat and it doesn't quite go right. And you just can't get back in sync. And then on the opposite side of that, Julian Salon, starts the heat and he's just straight in. He's just in sync. Everything's flowing. And it's just such a difference when you do wave sailing. You know, when you've sailed a wave sailing heat, the difference is huge, huge.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, next heats, what we've got on. So then we had this was heat number 3. So in heat number 4, we had Jules Denel, Morgan Nareau, Anthony Runes, and Andreas Tombar. And this one was quite an easy one for the top boys. There was 4 points separating them, pretty much the top 2 to the 3rd and 4th. So nothing crazy here. But we can say I thought Morgan Nareau looked pretty good. But Jules Denel was one of the standouts for me yesterday. Very solid style. You know, he never really disappoints. He's always been a solid sailor. He's actually got new sponsors this year, GA and Taboo boards. Didn't look like it bothered him. You know, he looked quite into it already. Getting, like I said, very good connection under the lip, turns, airs, placing it together. Yeah, he looks at home. You know, I don't know how much he sailed Chile before. I don't think it's much, but it looked like it suited him. So that's usually a good sign for a competition. But I think, what did Jules get? So Jules scored, 7.77. That was one of the big waves of the day. That was. So that was his 3rd wave of the heat. And he really did smash it. Morgan Nareau with the 2nd biggest score of that heat with a 6.57 on his 3rd wave.
This is Runes. We're going to watch him eat shit. Yeah.
Bang. Yeah.
Ooh.
That looked pretty easy to do yesterday. I think the waves are a lot more, you know, menacing than they look on the live stream. I think they've got a lot of water moving.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it looks tricky. It's that end section sort of closes out a bit, doesn't it? And just
it look again in different parts of the day, like Julian sort of alluded to it before, like certain times of the day it gets easier to do different things. So sometimes, you know, parts of the day when the wind changes angle a bit or the tide is different, then, you know, aerials become a bit easier. But there was definitely points yesterday where aerials looked quite tricky, especially if you come up and tried to go late. I think that was the bigger one. You really need to keep.
What do you think, Ben? If you're riding a wave, you know, linking turns, and then you go for the big hero maneuver at the end and stack it, do you think that puts a downer on your wave score versus just kicking out early? Yeah.
Well, it's difficult to say, but psychologically for the judges, I would say yes. But if you're going to kick out and not hit the section, that's worse, I would say. But sometimes if you've done really good work early on, and that was what I could see with Julian's wave, I could see he really normally would go for a goiter off one of the ender sections, but it was his first wave. He'd already done the good work and he wanted to leave a good impression, you know, and it probably didn't count that much for him. But if he hadn't have made the goiter, it definitely wouldn't have scored the 8.5 that he did. But if he'd have made the goiter, you know, then it maybe pushes it up into the 9s or something. So the risk reward for him, he's probably thinking, you know what, this is a good score anyway. I'll put it in the bag. I've got the whole rest of the heat, 16 minutes, to find one more good wave, and then I can just play. You know, as soon as you've got those 2 good waves in the bag, the rest of the heat is, you know, you can cut loose a little bit.
It's Anthony Runes.
Yeah, that's what I saw a lot of. You know, see, you know, not able to get the projection and then landing right on the impact zone, and that is just so unstable, very difficult to sail away from.
Yeah,
I think Jules Denel's next wave is his, you know, 7.77, which again is one of the higher scoring waves of the whole day. So
let's see if I can find it.
Sure. I think that's it. It's his 3rd wave. Yeah, this might be it. If that's him, I think it is. Yeah, it was kind of off the screen. You see that? That was a big turn there off the screen. Good size, aerial in the middle. You know, it's a good size wave.
Yeah, that was a solid wave.
Solidly ridden. You know, and that's all of that first section. Then it's walling up, another turn, bang, big aerial, up in, and you know, that was, you know, that's, you know,
what did he get for that?
What you want about Arnaud earlier, maybe you think he's been underscored, but that was only 7.7. So, you know, and that was better. So,
no, that's fair enough. It's 7.7, was it?
That was 7.77, yeah. So in relation to Arnaud's wave, which scored a point less, you would say that's a point more. So I
Yeah.
think it's, you've got to
No,
look at
it's
it.
fair. It's fair. Just that tweaked aerial. It's just one of my favorite maneuvers.
Yeah, and not easy by the looks of it there, especially
Yeah.
because you're going to be landing more vertical without much forward speed. So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're going to struggle to make the next section.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
so
no, that's
solid.
fair.
Next heat, we go down heat number 5. It was Antoine Martin, Liam Dunkerbeck, Hayata Ishii, and Felipe Vedlis, who we had on the morning show yesterday on the recap. Antoine Martin, I thought was standout. I'd had him as my sort of top tip. I think port tack down the line. He gets a bit of this type of stuff in Guadeloupe as well, and I've seen him sail it. And he got a 777 as well on his 4th wave. He was struggling for a bit. He's got a bit of an injury from what I heard. He's done his ankle. He got 583 on his last wave. Until then, actually, he wasn't home and dry. He was actually right in the mix. So he really did need his last wave score. But he looked good. And I've seen the video of him warming up. I don't know if you've seen that video on his social media. He looks on it. When Antoine Martin's on it, he's got, pretty loose boards as well. So it doesn't really need to push as hard, which means in this wave, he can get up and under, and he's kind of good style, I would say, for this type of wave. And he's not scared to throw down a maneuver. It's not something he thinks, oh, I better not go too crazy. This guy just goes, which I think is pretty cool. And Liam Dunkerbeck qualified for this heat. So Antoine Martin and Liam Dunkerbeck were the 2 riders to go through, although the Liam Dunkerbeck Hayata Ishii one was super close. Hayata Ishii actually kicked off the heat with a 673, which is a pretty big score, but then never backed it up. He couldn't find the backup.
Yeah, he's always a danger man, Hayatus. He's a little ripper. He gets better and better every year.
Yeah.
But we missed the first part of that heat. I'm not sure why the live stream doesn't show it. So it's just the back end of that.
There was a point where the live stream went down and it didn't miss the beginning of the certain heat. I can't actually remember which ones it was, but it definitely went down for a bit. But yeah, Antoine Martin, Liam Dunkerbeck, keep your eye on them. Hayata Ishii, again, not to take your eyes off. Next heat, interesting one. We had one of the biggest guns in the business, Philip Costa, in this one. Also, Marino Gill.
Sorry. I'm just going to look at this wave quickly before the end. Oh. Sorry. I just wanted to see that wave. I sort of just seem to remember that one. That was pretty sick, wasn't it?
Yeah, super late up and vertical. Lucky pretty well to sail away from that, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. All right, on to the next heat. Here we go. Where are we?
Next heat, Marino Gill, Philip Costa were the 2 riders that got through. Diego Fabris, again, was he the one that came through the trial? No, he was already in the main event. And then Ross Farrow as well. But in the end, it was Marino Gill that won it, which was interesting. 633 and a 657. Costa's best waves were the first 2 waves. He went pretty high, ended up out the back on a few of them. Didn't quite look really in sync, but that's usually the best way. If you're not quite in sync and you're qualifying through rounds, that's the best way to do it. You don't need to be winning these heats. You just need to be qualifying through to the next round. So top 2 was enough for him to advance. Marino Gill, another one with new sponsors this year, Neil Pride JP. So they have got rid of Miguel Chapuis. Miguel Chapuis has moved over to, I think, Flickerboards and North Sails. Marino Gill is their new rider. And the judges definitely liked his style, Marino Gill. So keep your eye on him. And I think we're going to see, Costa probably go from strength to strength. And we got our first real look at Costa. He's definitely lost weight. I mean, we know it because a lot of people have said he lost like 10 kilos, but he looks younger, fitter, looks quite stealthy. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. There's plenty of wind out there for him to show his skills. So, yeah, he's won here before, won this event, 4-star event last year. He loves competing. He obviously can do it here. And I think if we get conditions where the maneuvers are also, happening more often, which I think we will do depending on the days and times, he is going to be full danger. That was him going for the 360 and landed at the back. First time we've seen someone go for 360, and that just kind of goes to show how confident he is. It's obviously not an easy wave to do, but I think what he did is he looked at that wave, there wasn't much of a wall on it. So he didn't have much to work with. And he's like, well, I'm not going to get big points here unless I do something special. And the consequences were super low because it was kind of an end shouldery section. He tried to go back into it. So I think that was kind of good tactic, really.
It's weird when you're watching it, isn't it? Because you see the waves seemingly come from the direction of that island. And I'm sort of wondering what effect that has when you're choosing waves out there. Is the waves wrapping around from the left or wrapping around from the right and converging, or are they just sneaking through that gap, I guess, isn't it? Or then, yeah, I guess that's what the way they're going, aren't they? They're sneaking in through the left-hand gap. Yeah,
it probably helped clean it up, maybe, that rock a little bit.
But it's interesting, isn't it, when you're out? Because sometimes I see sailors close to that island, and I'm like, how are they choosing swells out there? But I guess once you're out there, it's kind of obvious. But from the broadcast, it's a bit of it's an interesting sort of obstacle out there.
Yeah. But, well, let's rip through these heats, because 2 more heats to go. Heat number 7, heat number 8. Then we've got the women. And I think we're going to get Sarah Hauser in a second as well to give us a bit of an inside scoop from the women. So heat number 7 was Thomas Traversa, Victor Fernandez, Benjamin Fabrice, and Rui Noguchi. But this one was interesting for me because I really thought Benjamin, who's the local fella, I thought his wave could have been underscored. When I watched it live, that was my initial thought. I thought that looked a sick wave. And
which sail's he on?
Oh, Victor got smashed on that one, didn't he? We'll see him in a minute. I think he's on that Goya.
The yellow one, okay.
I think so, yeah. But he looked like a really good style on him. And he had some maneuvers, and length of ride was pretty good.
Oh, God, that was under the lip.
Yeah, so, again, I thought Victor sailed good, but I thought his last wave compared to the other wave, well, I could think, well, but then I thought maybe Victor's one of the first waves was kind of underscored. So it's very difficult to get a full picture of it. But, long and short of it is, I thought Benjamin Fabrice was sailing really well, and I would keep an eye on him. He's going to be in, obviously, the redemption round, as they call it. So I would keep an eye on him because he only really finished about half a point, was it? Like 3/4 of a point behind Victor in the end. Victor scoring a 6.3 on his last wave, which is what gave him the win. It really came down to a buzzer-beating wave. So I think we can should we watch that last buzzer-beating wave?
Yeah, sure. Well, but also, what's the wave that you think he got underscored on? I was trying to find that one. Is it later in the heat? Or?
It's a good question. I don't know. I just remember watching it and thinking, wow, that was a sick wave. I think it was his second wave, 6.23. It must have been that one. So it's still his biggest. It's still not a bad score. I'm not saying I just thought compared to maybe the last wave.
This wave maybe, yeah?
Could be. I just remember thinking it was a long wave, and then it was probably the first time I'd seen some maneuvers. Maybe I just liked his style. It isn't as big a wave as we've seen, though, to be fair. So maybe that counted against. Oh, no, wasn't that one.
Obviously not that one.
But at that point, he's already got 7. No, it's before that wave. That was his 5.43. So it's before that wave.
Bit hard to find it on such a long broadcast. Apologies.
Well, it's the one that gave him. It's his second wave. So just go back to when he's only got 1 score at the top. So anyone listening audio only, I know this isn't probably good for you guys, but yeah. So this point, this point he's got 6 on the board, or 5.5.
Okay. So he's out. This may be this wave, huh? Oh no, hold on. He's out the back there.
No, this is his first wave. It will be.
Oh yeah, sorry, still the first.
But this is Victor. Oh, this one, Victor got smashed. There was some heavy drops yesterday. Yeah, this was his first wave that we're looking at.
Yeah. I'm still trying to find it.
Again, not really a name I'm used to, but I thought it looked pretty solid. Pretty solid indeed.
Yeah, a little bit hard to find. Apologies here. I'm just trying to find it, but not easy. Yeah, anyway. So Thomas Traversa was the winner of that heat?
Yeah, he looked good. Boys look, like I said, we're not surprising. It's just interesting to watch it from an outside perspective and see who looks at home, the most. We know they're all good sailors. We know they can all put in top performances, but sometimes there's a few people that step up. There's a few people that just look on their game, better than usual, or just look, at the peak of their performance. And I think that's kind of the interesting bit for competition. But as I said before, nothing is won or lost in that first heat. Everyone's still in the game. Everyone still has a chance to win this competition. No one is out right now. So nothing has really been gained apart from maybe some confidence building, some, less heats, because if you've won or come second, you move on to that third round, which is obviously a big thing. So that's good. And then we come on to the last heat, which is on screen now. And I thought this was interesting for me to see because it was interesting. That was Julian Salmon's first wave we were just looking at there, which was an 8.63. Now, this was the biggest heat score of the day, which, definitely deserved. It was so long. Again, the only thing you could maybe fault him for is a bit of repetition because he had so many aerials on it at the end. And I just know if it had been near the end, if he'd have already got 2 waves in the bag, we would have seen a goiter, because I know how good he is at maneuvers. Yeah, he's got such a good turn on him. There was that aerial, nice, keeps his speed, land on the wave, straight into another aerial, and he's still going. And then at this point, he has to hop this one, aerial. And now I'm thinking goiter. Look, he wanted it, and he could have done it. But there was a few like towards this end, and then a big turn to finish. It's a long wave, lots of action. Can't deny, that was really well ridden. Again, the only thing you probably could fault him if you had to squeeze it out of me would be a bit of repetition on those airs. And to not get the repetition, he couldn't have turned because of the angle and everything. He would have had to have done a maneuver, something like a goiter, which we know he's capable of. And I think in the later rounds, if we're talking finals, you're going to see that's a goiter instead, And then Bernd Rodiger, big standout, I think, for me in this heat. I thought he looked really good. He's got a definite style. You see that he turns up and goes straight up again. And he was that little pop off the top. People say what they want about that, but it's functional.
Yeah. And just
this is one of the longer waves of his. And he tried that air tacker at the end, which I like that. I like to see pushing, and that's why Bernd wins events. He's not scared to go for it when it needs to. He didn't go safe on that end section. He knows he's already had some airs and he wants to mix it up. And I like that. That's the full winning mentality. Those are the guys that, they might end up 4th by doing that, but they most of the time end up winning, because if they make it, it makes it clean and dry. There's no, maybe the judges give you the vote. If you make it clean and obvious and you bosh out some of the biggest moves, the judges have got no chance. They have to give it you. So I think that's pretty cool.
Talking about going for it, we got Bath. He's just donated for a second time in a row. Well, second.
We got $5.99. I'll have to send you 2.90. 4.5.
Good on you, Bath. Thank you, mate. Legend.
Cheers, dude. Appreciate the support, keeping us going. We've got to mention Alessio Stilrich and Vicente Gonzalez. He came out of the trials as well. So, he gave a good account of himself, I thought. Alessio, I've seen his Instagram post as well. He wasn't happy with his performance. He got stronger through the heat, but it just didn't come off for him. He nearly landed his goiter and just didn't stick it. But you could see the way he started the heat, he lost that. He didn't have any momentum at all. I think Vicente actually started the heat with a 6.5. Bernd started with a 6.9 and Julian started with an 8.6. So, Alessio probably saw a lot of these waves, and it does get in your head and you're like, they're all on the set waves and you've missed it. And it's just a horrible place to start. So that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so there we go. Winners of that, Julian Salmon and Bernd Rodiger. So keep your eye on Vicente Gonzalez, because he actually scored 11.57. But Bernd one of the top heat scores of the day, 13.47, and Julian Salmon, I think, with the biggest heat score of the day, 15.36. So it was a big score in heat. So Vicent probably will have a chance in that reportage round. If you look at his score, he got two. It's a 5.07 and a 6.5. That could mean the conditions were a bit easier, but it probably means he's just a ripper and he's going to cause some problems in that redemption round. And I think we need to move on to the women as well now.
Yeah, we also have a special guest. We have Sarah Hauser waiting in the wings. So we will. Shall we bring her on? Are we ready for
bring her in. Let's get her
in. Is she there? Can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
I don't know why.
Well, we can hear you. That's the main thing.
Okay. Should I try and log out and log back in?
Can you see a button there where it says start cam, or is there some?
I do. I have it started.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it doesn't like you. But I mean, the main thing is we got you on the.
Yeah,
we want to hear what you've got to say, get your experience, and we'll try and work that out because that could be some technical fault. What's it like to be in Chile, Sarah?
It's awesome. This is my first time. It's amazing here. Quite cold though.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because obviously you're originally from New Caledonia. You live in Maui now. They're both a lot warmer water than Chile, I'm guessing. What size wetsuit have you got?
5'4" and 4'3". Yeah.
Okay. And that's okay? Not cold feet?
Yes, by the end of the session, I feel like I have just big blocks at the end of my legs, like no more toes, like I just crash all my tacks, no agility.
Well, anyway, the good job is there's some nice waves out there because I watched your heat, you were ripping. Looked like actually you and Justina had a really solid heat, some good set waves and getting really long rides actually.
Yeah, thanks. It felt like there were plenty of waves during that heat, plenty of waves to pick from, and it was a little tricky to know which one to favor. So it was my second session at Matanzas, but I definitely felt like there were opportunities for all of us, which is great for a good battle.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a good turnout in the women's fleet. Obviously, a lot of people know you as a Maui sailor. You've been living there for a lot of years now, but obviously, originally, you're from New Caledonia, and probably the best wave on the island, or maybe in the world, tenure. That's a port tack wave, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but I haven't been riding it a lot for the past 10 years. I've definitely spent more time on rights than lefts. And the lefts that I rode, yeah, were like New Caledonia types waves, which are very different from Matanzas. It's a reef wave in New Caledonia. It's got a big channel. It's kind of powerful all the way through. And here you've got sections to work with. You've got on and off section, on and off wind gusts. So it's a little more tricky and finicky here. Yeah, definitely.
What do you prefer? Starboard or port tack? Sorry, I just want to know what do you prefer to ride? Are you regular or goofy, or what? Does it matter? Do you mind which way you ride?
I mean, I think I'm more comfortable on starboard tacks because I'm regular and I've spent more times wave sailing for the last 10 years in Maui. But I've learned on port tack, and it's kind of every time I ride port tack, it kind of brings me back to my first times of windsurfing in waves, and there's like good memories attached to that. So I feel like even if it's not my favorite foot, it's still got some good vibes.
Yeah, for sure. Look, you looked at home. I thought you looked really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we're just discussing before, Sarah, from the broadcast, you're seeing this big rock island in the background there. How does that work when you're sailing out the back trying to pick swells? Is it tricky working out where the swells are, or is it pretty obvious? It looks kind of weird from the broadcast because you just see this big island there and swells seemingly coming from that direction.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad yesterday. Like I felt like we could see those swells coming pretty easily. But when you're free sailing with 50 other great windsurfers and you're trying to pick the waves out the back, the rock becomes a bit of a challenge because if you're too far out and then you get that big lull right behind the rock, and so you can lose your wave. But if you're too deep inside, then some people might catch them further out. So it gets challenging during the free sessions. But during the contest with only 3 other sailors out, it's not a problem.
Yeah, okay. It's an interesting setup. It looks awesome though. It looks like a great fun spot.
Yeah, it's great. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of got some diversity to it. It changes a lot throughout the day. Like the tides affects it a lot. And I think that we've got big tides too right now with the full moon. And so there's definitely a lot of change throughout the wave and throughout the day.
Yeah. And we're just looking at you. I don't know if you can see, but we're actually looking at your heat at the moment. It was obviously, from what I can remember, it was really a main tussle between you and Justina. Was that correct? Apologies. It was about 3 a.m. by the time I started catching this, but
Yeah, no worries. I think we both had like in the 12 point something scores. It was kind of close,
Yeah, it was
but
0.04 separated. So
yeah.
it was pretty close. It was
yeah.
pretty close. You had the biggest score of the day on that first wave, 7.43, which is a
That's good.
solid score.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm so glad I went out a little bit before that to warm up because I dropped into a wave and got to the bottom and felt no wind and the whole section just broke next to me. And I was like, okay, that's the kind of onshore type hollow wave that you really can't miss a beat and you have to get started pretty quickly when you ride it and go straight from one turn to the next. So yeah, I was able to apply that on my first wave. But then when I got to the last section toward the end, like that section that the guys were hitting moves or aerials, like that was my first time really hitting that section ever. And it was quite the shock because you get there and the wind changes angle. It's very gusty. So
We see it. It looks like you can
yeah.
just say you're trying to go into a forward off the lip.
Oh man, I wish I just went for something a little more safe, like a good finish turn, and that would have put me with a higher score. But you know, like you live and learn, and this I'm glad to make it to the next round and hopefully do better.
We liked it. You more of that. That's what we want to see. That was some serious aggression. And how intimidating are those rocks on the inside? Because when you watch from the stream, you don't always see it, but a lot of the time, if you're starting the wave ride, it's almost, well, I guess you're used to it, a hoop keeper, but any mistakes, I'm guessing you end up on those rocks.
Yeah, it felt a little scary. I think we weren't starting the the deepest though. Like I've seen some the Japanese kid like catch them even deeper than we were today, like really in front of all the rocks, and that looked scary on the new wave
Yeah.
for me. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of perspective in play that makes it look more gnarly than it is. I mean, for sure. I think if you bounce on your first bottom turn, you can end up on those rocks. But yeah, just try it. It's kind of smooth, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. We hear from someone else? They say it should be bigger today.
That's the rumor. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I hope that makes the wave like maybe a little slower and easier to connect, so we can
Yeah.
do long rides. But yeah, I'm excited to see what it does to the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck today. We'll be watching. It's actually perfect time over here in Europe to watch, actually, because you get to watch all evening long. So I think I saw on the live stream there's over 1,000 sort of live viewers, which I think is pretty
It hit
solid.
1,200 at one point.
Yeah, and that's early rounds as well. So I think as we go
Mm.
through the competition, we're going to see some good live numbers as well as like the refresh ones. So keep up the good work, and we look forward to
Thanks,
seeing you
guys.
ripping it up.
Before
you.
you go, Sarah, when's your movie coming out?
Girl on Wave 2 is gonna come out probably in the fall, I think. We're just finishing the post-production right now, recording some more voiceovers. But yeah, I think that's the plan in the fall. So stay
Awesome.
tuned. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. Look forward to that. All right, good to catch up. I'll speak to you next time.
Sounds good. See you soon.
See ya.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Oops. Cut her off.
All
a bit
right,
early.
there we go. I mean, there was some solid performances in the women. I mean, obviously Hauser as well. That was a big battle between her and Justina. Obviously, top two qualify, so it doesn't matter if you finish first or second. But there was 0.04 separating them. So she's pretty incredible. I thought Justina had some really solid rides as well. Both of her waves in the 6-point range. Obviously, Hauser had the biggest wave score with that first one, 7.43. Who else? We saw Damika Osman come through from that early trials round, or round 1. Also Camilla Kunal. And then the second heat for the women, Lena Erpenstein, Maria Morales were the 2 that qualified. Maria Behrens and Sybil Boda missing out. And actually, Maria Morales left it very late for her qualification, if I'm not mistaken. I was getting, it was quite late at night by this point, but I seem to remember Maria Behrens was looking pretty good early on. And then Maria Morales sort of stepped in as we come through. Lena Erpenstein as well, some big turns from her, safely qualified her through with a 12.23. What else? And then no, there was some solid performances.
I missed these heats, so apologies for my lack of knowledge here. So I was asleep by this stage, but yeah, that's a solid one.
There's a lot of water coming through. She's deep.
Yeah.
Very deep. So, yeah, it was good performances there. And then heat number 3 in the women was Alexia Kiefer. She put on a really good show, I thought, from the girl from Pozo. She had a 6.5 and a 7-point wave, and then a 6.43. So not one wave, pretty much all of the waves are above 6.5, which is pretty incredible. It's finished the heat really on 13.5. And then there was a really close battle between Lisa Vermeister and Maria Andras. Maria Andras, in the end, missed out. And it was Lisa Vermeister that got through to the third round. So she will have to go through the redemption round. Sol Dietrich, unfortunately, didn't make it through, but she obviously won the junior girls the other day. But she's still in the competition. And I'm sure we're going to see her come back pretty strong.
It's definitely a surprise, Maria Andres. You sort of expect her just to get through her heats, especially early on. So obviously the competition is heating up with the women.
See if you can find any of Alexia's waves, because they were solid. I mean, she has got one of the best turns in the business in that women's fleet. She's got a really powerful turn. Obviously, she comes from Pozo, so you kind of associate Pozo with jumping, and she can jump. Her riding is really special. She's got, from a very young age, she's had a very powerful style. So I think she's gonna love.
Which sail is she?
I think she was on the green one. It's difficult because there was 3 riders. Yeah. I'm saying that, I'm not actually sure, because there was 3 riders all on duotone.
Maybe this is her. This might be her. That was a good turn.
Yeah, she's got a powerful style. You can't really fault it. You see like the difference of just aggression in those turns.
That was probably her, I assume.
We've got Rasmus saying Alexia is a future world champion. You wouldn't count against it, would you? You really wouldn't bet against it.
Which country is she from?
Well, she's born in, I guess she's German. That parents are German, but German and Spanish, so Canary and Spain.
I see.
Spanish, German, Sperman, maybe.
Hold on, is this her again? Oh no, this is someone else. Yeah, with this light as well, isn't it? It can be tricky
it got difficult. I mean, for the commentators and everyone, trying to spot was pretty difficult.
Yeah, but you see what I mean with the top scores up here. It would be nice. I might have to see if it's possible, but you can see the top 2 scores, but it's still a little bit tricky. You've got to do a bit of number crunching in your head, don't you, to work it out? I
love a bit of number crunching. That's
I know you're great at it, but I'm just thinking it would be great to have a number here that just says what they actually need. That would be cool. That would be good. But anyway, I'll see if I can, if anyone thinks that's a good idea, I can look into that, see if it's possible at their end. But it's definitely better, isn't it, with a breakdown? I mean, that scoring is better.
Oh, it's way better. The only problem is if you're watching it on your phone, you're watching it on a smaller screen. It's bloody impossible to see it. Me watching it on the TV last night it was perfect. But actually now I'm looking at it on my laptop on a smaller window. It is a bit more tricky to see, I guess. The white and black writing is definitely easier than the black and white. You know what I mean? The black writing and white is easier to see.
Well, these girls, they got
yeah.
good conditions, didn't they? Like they got
I
some.
think, I think looking at the scores, Paul, I would say the conditions got better towards the end of the day because the women definitely had a good run of it. They were finding more open waves. And if you look at the Julian Salmon heat, Bernd Rodiger, these guys at the end, they were scoring big. Not to say they're obviously not good riders, of course they are, but definitely the conditions favoured a certain style of riding towards the end. And I think it looked like they had more power down the line and they were able to get longer rides, I think, as the day went on. Again, that's just visually watching. So if anyone's got any other takes on that, fair enough.
This is Alexia, I imagine.
Well, I don't, you say, yeah, I think it is, but it's
it looks like it from the turns. If you're saying that she's doing, she's doing sick turns.
Yeah, I mean, that's underneath it, isn't it? It's solid, very solid.
Wow. That's cool. Well, she'll be definitely one to be watching.
And then the last heat of the women, which was the fourth heat, Jane Seaman, Pauline Katz, Coco Vavo, and Dominika Osman in this heat. And yeah, two kind of standouts here was Jane Seaman. We, expecting to see her there, like Aussie local, port tack down the line, sails Margaret River, 12.74, 607 and a 667. So really solid. I'm expecting to see her right up there in this competition. And Pauline Katz, obviously, I think she's living now in Pozo, so used to port tack. Broke a leg in Maui when she went over there to do the Aloha Classic, and unfortunately didn't make it. Really hurt herself. So she's coming back from injury, and she managed to take that second spot with a 4.27 and a 5.80. Very selective in the waves. You can see a lot less scores coming in at the end of the day. So I don't know if that's just there was better waves and they were able to wait and be selective, or it got more tricky. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Because the scores were bigger, but the waves were less, which is kind of interesting. Sure.
The colors are amazing, aren't they? It's so golden. It's
it's probably nice on the camera, but in real life, you probably need sunglasses on, I'm guessing, because it's pretty difficult. I think kind of Cape Townish. And Barth saying no Sarah Keita ? Yeah, there's a few people missing. Sarah Keita's missing. In the men, Baptiste Clarec missing. I was expecting to see Baptiste Clarec.
Baptiste Clarec. The other person that would be amazing to see out here. Can you guess?
Paré?
Well, okay, Mark Paré as well, but somebody else
who we haven't watching this. I know he is. I spoke to him earlier. He's it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
Oh, Mark, we'll see you soon, mate. But no, it would be Jager.
Yes. Good point. That's a surprise, really. I wouldn't have been surprised to see Jager at this competition. It wouldn't have been
well, he's a busy man these days, being a fireman, but he would have. This is his tack, and this looks like WA. He would have.
Yeah, you'd be putting a couple of quid on him, wouldn't you?
Hopefully next year we get to see him because he's sick. But look, it's no, not literally sick, but metaphorically sick. Okay, yeah. But no, it's he shreds. That's what I meant.
He's really sick.
But yeah, no, it's been interesting to see the women as well, because there's definitely some really good sailors there. So it's going to be exciting all round. Yeah, that's good. This has been a good event.
Yeah, it's far from over. They've got so many good days left. I mean, it's interesting, that's for sure. I'm just looking at the Masters. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to come. There's plenty more action. So I think that'll be it for your morning show, your sort of day 2 recap. I hope that helped. Let us know if you want to see anything specific. Obviously, it's not so easy to do everything super organized and everything, but it's more just to give the guys that tuned in and wanted a little bit of a different opinion on things. Sometimes that's nice. And maybe for the guys who didn't tune in and just wanted a bit of an overview of what they thought happened. Again, let us know in the comments if you want to see anything particular. we're going to try and keep getting these interviews from people obviously over there. That's the gold. I mean, us two talking is fine, but really what we want to hear is the insights from Julian Salon, Sarah Hauser. Yesterday we had, some locals in and everything. I think that's really cool to get a feel for what is happening there and how the sailors are seeing it. I think that's the important thing for me anyway. And obviously you guys tuning in definitely help let us know. So thank you very much, Paul. Anything
Thanks,
to add?
guys. No, it's thanks again, guys. Thanks for all the positive messages and contributions. I love the community spirit.
Yeah,
Keep it
cheers,
going.
Paul.
Good on you guys. You.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, just plus the world's best quiz. The cause PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.